Once a month, Paula Pant, host of the Afford Anything podcast, answers voicemail questions the listeners send in. Here's one now.
Hey, Paula, I have a quick question for you about real estate in a high cost of living area. We're looking to relocate from northern New England to central California. Our current mortgage is about $175,000, and I am looking at if we were to move to central California, what our housing options would be. The first thing that comes to mind is just renting and spending more than we currently spend, but not having the stress of such a potentially volatile market. And my other option that I've been thinking about is, kind of maxing out our mortgage loan potential and buying a unit that has a detached finished garage or something like that, and renting out that unit to help cover our mortgage. We would be looking at this as a long-term move, so I'm not sure what the property values are, if that's worthwhile to do something like that in such a hot market, or if the better option is to just look at renting or buy a single-family home and looking at rental properties elsewhere that would get you more return for your money. Any thoughts you have would be appreciated. Keep up the great work.
Claire, thanks for asking that question, and congratulations on your upcoming move. I've been fielding a lot of questions lately from people who seem to be moving from the East Coast to the West. I wonder is this a trend or is it just a coincidence? I don't know. At any rate, to recap your question, it sounds like option A, once you move to California, option A is to rent, and option B is to buy and rent out a portion of what you've bought to use as an income property. Those are like the first two options that you had mentioned. Okay, first of all, option A, renting, is always a solid plan, particularly like when you're moving somewhere new and you don't know the area yet, you don't know the neighborhood, you're making a personal lifestyle decision based on, where's going to make you happy to live. Yeah, there's totally nothing wrong with renting for 6 months or a year while you're settling in and getting the lay of the land and figuring out what neighborhoods you like and what you don't and where you want to live and just while you're learning your new environment. So I totally would encourage anybody kind of in any situation, if you're going to move somewhere for a while, sublet, at the very least, get a 3-month sublet just so you can really learn the area before you put down roots and commit to somewhere. I typically think that's a good plan. Now, as to option B, which is max out your mortgage potential, buy as much as you can, and rent out a portion of the property. The thing that concerned me about the question, the way that you phrased that option, is that you mentioned property appreciation. I am an advocate of not making any decisions based on what the market may or may not do in the future. And here's why. You have, this is a concept that came from the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. You have this circle of concern, and your circle of concern is anything and everything that you could ever possibly be worried about, from nuclear war to how Game of Thrones is going to end, to whether or not your socks match, to what the real estate appreciation market is going to do for the next 10 years. All of that is within your circle of concern. And then inside of that circle of concern, you've got this thing called the circle of influence. And those are the things that you can directly influence. To the greatest degree that any human can control anything, you have control over the outcome. So whether or not your socks match, for example, is something that's totally within your circle of influence. What time you wake up in the morning, how well you're eating, how often you shower, how nice you are to other people. All of those things are inside of your circle of influence. Now, the problem with reliance on market-based appreciation, which is appreciation that happens as a result of broad economic forces outside of your control, is that it's outside of your control. You can't do anything about it. And so I believe that it is extremely risky and, in my opinion, inadvisable to make decisions based on speculation about what may or may not happen in the future. I like to say appreciation is speculation. Now, when I say that, I'm referring specifically to market appreciation. There's a different type of appreciation. It's called forced appreciation. I should maybe give it a new name just so the two don't get conflated. But forced appreciation happens when you buy a fixer-upper and you improve it, thereby forcing its value to go up by virtue of making improvements to it. That's a different type of appreciation because that appreciation is within your locus of control. That part's cool. I like that. But I would hesitate to buy something based on the hope that it may go up, because if it doesn't, then what are you going to do? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. So if you're interested, and that, by the way, is the reason that I got into rental properties and I stuck with rental properties, is because rentals are based on cash flow. They're not based on, or at least in the approach that I take, they're not based on some crystal ball speculation about what may or may not happen in the future. It's what kind of cash flow am I getting? Can these investments generate enough money to cover part or all of my basic cost of living? Can it supplement or replace my income? Not with one house, but if I bought one property per year for the next 5 to 10 years, then in 10 years' time, would I have enough money that I could retire early? That's my approach to rental property investing. And that approach has absolutely nothing to do with market value. Market value, in my book, is completely irrelevant, other than insofar as you can borrow against a property if you want access to capital in order to buy more. As I see it, there are only 2 times in which property value actually matters: when you buy and when you sell. And if I wanted to throw in a third, I would say when you refinance, or if you do a cash out refi. Those points of transaction are the only times that property value matters. Anything else is noise. Anything else is volatility. All right, that's my little rental property valuation soapbox. If you are interested in generating cash flow from properties, I'd encourage you to go where the money is. This kind of goes back to the theme from earlier in this episode. There's no reason necessarily to invest somewhere just because you happen to live there. And I know this is not a perfect analogy, but, I wouldn't buy stock from a company just because that company was based where I happen to live. Like in Atlanta, Home Depot and Delta Airlines and Coca-Cola. I'm not loading my portfolio with those stocks just because those companies happen to be Atlanta-based, In Cincinnati, I didn't only think about buying Procter & Gamble stock because P&G is Cincinnati-based. Similarly, maybe I should use a different analogy because I myself can see all the flaws and all the holes in this analogy. But I guess the reason that I keep going back to this is because I'm really trying to impress upon people that just because a house is tangible and familiar, just because you live in it, and many people have emotional attachments to it, that doesn't mean that it's any less of an investment than a stock. And therefore, that doesn't mean that it should be subject to a different set of emotional criteria. I don't know if I'm expressing that very well, but the reason that I keep going back to these imperfect analogies is basically to impress the point that an investment is an investment is an investment. So if you're going to make an investment, then don't seek suboptimal returns. Get the investment that's going to produce good returns relative to your risk-reward profile comfort zone, just as you would if you were investing the balance of your 401k. So that is what I would encourage. So I hope that answered your question. I'm trying to refrain from telling you what to do. I'm more trying to give you a framework around how to think about this. But long story short, don't think about appreciation. And if you want income and cash flow, think first about where you're going to get awesome income and cash flow, as opposed to what happens to be in your own backyard. Thanks, Claire, and good luck with the move.
Hey, did you enjoy this excerpt from the Afford Anything podcast? Then click to download our free ebook, Escape. You'll be taken to a page where you can enter your email for immediate access to everything you need to know about escaping the 9-to-5 grind to live life on your terms. And you can also subscribe with one simple click to get alerted when new videos are uploaded.